All right, so now let's talk about HTTP. So this one here is going to be head. Now, before, we did port scanning, so you'd connect to a TCP socket and then expect it to return with a banner. But the problem with HTTP is that protocol does not include a banner. So if I make a file called head.py, so here it does the same thing. It connects to a target on port 80, but after the connection, it doesn't try to read sReceive right away because the server is not going to send any data back just from a TCP handshake. It's going to wait for a proper request, and here is the simplest HTTP request. It's 3 lines. The first line has to be head/HTTP/1.1. Then you have to have carriage return line feed. Then you have to have the name of the host because a lot of modern servers serve several web pages from the same host. So it has to have this URL again in this line. And then you have to have 2 carriage return line feeds to terminate it. That is the format of an HTTP request, 3 lines of text. So you have to send all that, and then the server will reply with something. So that's the trick. So let's run this and see how it looks. That is head. Okay, there we go. So it sends the request, and when it works, the first line always tells you whether it worked or not. It gives you a status code, and 200 is okay. That means it was a good request, and the server was able to process it. Otherwise, you get a 400 error or a 500 error or something like that. Then there's a lot of information in the header from the server just about the software running on the server, what version it is, and stuff like that that isn't really very important. And that's all you get with a head request. So the point of this is it shows you can make a valid HTTP request, but this one doesn't really accomplish anything. What's more valuable is to use a GET request. So here is a GET request. If I open this in another browser window, this is a login page. So I can log in. If I use a username of A and a password of B and log in, it's going to say login rejected. Now this login, put your username and password right up here in the URL, which is actually not a very good security policy, but anyway, that's what I did on this server to keep things simple. So the username and password have to go right up there. And to do that, you can catch that request in Wireshark. That's one way to do it. There are other ways, but that's what I'll do here. You start Wireshark. If you don't have it, it's a free download on every operating system. And then you'll see your interfaces here, and you can find which interface you're using by the bar here showing traffic going down it. And if you double click that, it'll start sniffing and showing you all the traffic. And I've got a ton of traffic because of Zoom and Twitch and stuff. But if I filter for HTTP, it gets quiet because almost nobody uses unencrypted HTTP anymore for everything. Everything is pretty much encrypted these days. So my unencrypted page is easy to catch. So if I do that login again with, say, A and B, and then log in, now it caught that request in Wireshark. It was a GET login. So I can stop sniffing, and I can see this by right-clicking this packet and going to follow TCP stream. This will show me the layer 7 data without any of the addresses or anything. So now I can see what was sent to the server in red and what the server sent back in blue. And let me just stick this in a text editor to blow it up so it's easier to see. So let me go to my text editor and make an empty page and drag it over here and paste in that stuff. All right. And let's blow it up. All right. So this is what a valid HTTP GET request looks like. You do a GET, and right here is the reference to the page without the domain name. The domain name is on the second line, and you don't really need most of this stuff. That's all minor details that don't really matter much. That's the GET request. So we can send this whole request to the server just the way it is, including the blank line, and that means we'll be able to we can send that. So let's put that in a Python script. And so I'm going to copy the head to get.py, And then I'm going to nano my get, and whoa, that's not right, get.py. All right, and now it's the same thing, except I need to send a different request. So I do request equals quote, quote, quote. I paste in all that stuff and quote, quote, quote. So I've copied that request right out of Wireshark with all the junk. Now, this used to work a couple of years ago, but the modern version of Apache really, the problem is this only puts, I think, line feeds and not carriage returns at the end of each line. And so I have to manually add the missing character. Let me check for my instructions. For modern versions of Apache, you really have to add these \Rs to the end of each line. So that's annoying, but I will do it. So I don't use this anymore. I use this mess. You can have a multi-line string variable in Python with the carriage returns in there, which is what's happening here. Control E should take me to the end. Control E. Okay. If I'm careful, this will create a valid request. And this one also needs a carriage return to go with the new line. It has to have that blank line at the end to terminate the request. So it will send that mess to the server. And let's see how that looks. All right, now this, by the way, is success. Notice what happened. It didn't complain about connecting to the server. It complained that Unicode can't decode it. And the reason is because of another thing that went by kind of fast. If you look at the reply in Wireshark, the reply is unreadable junk. And the reason this happened is because in the request, I had this line that said, except encoding gzip and deflate. I told the server that it would be okay to compress the data before sending it to me and send me unreadable binary zipped data, which a browser can handle, but my Python script cannot handle. I could add an unzipping function to the Python script, but what's easier is to just tell the server, don't zip it. So all you have to do is delete that line, except encoding gzip. If you don't allow it to zip the data, it won't. So I delete that line and run it again. And now it worked, and I got a 200 OK. So this is the header part of the server. The 200 OK means the server understood my request. It gave me the header information, and then it gave me the HTML information that would build the page. So now I've made a little browser in Python, text-only browser. And so that's the point of this one. Now, let's do post, because nobody uses get. It's a poor security policy. It's not the way to do it. The way everybody really does logins is with get. So let's take a look at this, or with post, excuse me. So let's take a look at this one. Here's another login page, and I'm going to catch it in Wireshark again. So I'll start Wireshark sniffing again. Restart, continue without saving, and filter for HTTP again. And now when I log in with A and B, log in, I capture it in Wireshark. And when I view this one, follow TCP stream, it's a little different. It has all pretty much the same header stuff up here. The first word is post instead of get, and the username and password are down here after the blank line. That's how a post request works. So I'm just going to copy the request here and put it in Wireshark, or put it in Python rather. So I'll copy my get request to post.py and edit the post request. And now I just want to make this the request instead. Request equals quote, 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 paste in all that junk, quote, quote, quote. And now let's get rid of the old one. And I got to put in the \Rs at the end of each line to terminate the lines correctly. Control E takes me to the end. Whoa, whoa. My Control E didn't work. Control E, \R, Control E, \R, Control E, \R, \R, R, R, R. Okay, that should be right. Now, again, I do not want to accept encoding zip, or I won't be able to read the reply, so I'll get rid of that. And if I've done this correctly, that will reproduce that login. Let's see if it works. Ah, good, it worked. So I got a 200 OK, and then it gives me the response again. You sent A and B, and all right, welcome. That doesn't sound right. I think it should tell me someplace that I failed, but anyway, doesn't matter. All right, now, so that's how you can do the important HTTP requests in Python, and now you can just start hacking into things. So here's a page where you can log in with username Dumbo and password Dumbo. So Dumbo and Dumbo. And when you log in, it will tell you successful login, but you don't get the flag. What you have to do to get the flag is log in with Python, to where you also change the user agent to be Python. So that's how I can tell you're not just using a normal browser. So then you'll get a flag. And then you got a brute force where you know the username, but the password is a 2-digit number, so you'll have to make a loop to try all 2-digit numbers. And then there's other ones like basic authentication, where the username and password are scrambled with base 64. That's an old trick. And then there's a couple brute forces there. And then you can start using HTTPS. All this stuff used HTTP, which is unencrypted traffic, and you can see it in Wireshark. And as I mentioned, nobody uses HTTP anymore because it's not safe. They get rid of Wireshark. So if you want to see these requests for an HTTPS page, you have to use Firefox Developer Tools, or in almost every browser now. So if I go to, here, let me close these other pages so I make sure I get the right one. Here's an HTTP login. All right, I thought I'd use an HTTPS, but it'll work here too. So if you want to catch this login without using Wireshark, you view Developer Tools. View Developer Tools in your browser. That gives you a pane here, which will show you what the browser is doing, and you can go to Network. And now if you log in with A and B, it will save the requests down here in Developer Tools. There's the request. And you can see the headers here, and there's a way to see them, view source, yeah. The request headers, if you view source, here is the same stuff I got out of Wireshark. It's pretty small print, but it shows you all the print of the request. So this is what you have to do to get requests in HTTPS. Although a better technique is one we talked about yesterday, run it through Burp. And if you right-click on any request in Burp, you can turn it into Python right in Burp, and then just copy it into a Python script. So there's a lot of ways to move your code from one place to another. And anyway, there's various challenges here where you have to try and find out the right username and password. And you'll notice that these are the ones you solved yesterday in Burp. To solve again in Python, you'll see mine are much more primitive. That Web Security Academy was much more professional, where everybody got a different answer. Here you've all got the same answer, and there's just one server you're all talking to. But it amounts to about the same kind of thing. And I'm sure, by the way, you could solve all these puzzles easily in Burp. But doing it in Python is the technique I was planning for you using today. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you about HTTP requests.